Hello and welcome to Paper Traders, a show where two average Joes try to beat the market. I'm your co-host Eric, and I'm here with Danny Mac. And just want to remind you guys to like, subscribe, comment on your favorite platform that we're streaming on. Also to remind you that we are streaming, so we take your live comments. You guys will catch up with what happened last week, but to get into today, we want to introduce Kevin Cook, who is the editor of Healthcare Innovators and the senior stock strategist here at Zacks.com. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
So to kind of start things off, we did want to kind of get this out of the way real quick because it's been a couple of weeks since we had the question, but somebody had asked about Catalyst Pharmaceutical. Now, I know you got a lot of stuff coming at us today, so let's just knock this little piece out the park real quick. That way we can get into the meat and potatoes of what's going on with you.
Well, you asked me about this small biotech stock, and whenever anybody comes at me with a small biotech stock, I go, hold on. These are high risk, high reward, and we really need to find out, is this stock right for you? So I talk to people about how to invest in biotech. So I'd much rather give my broad approach than say, is this stock a buy or a sell?
And then catch it later.
Yeah.
That sounds good. All right, well then let's kind of get into this. So Kevin, you've been with Zacks for a while. We like to kind of give a background on what people have done before they've come here. So how did you get into the world of trading? Where did you start? And if you do happen to remember, what was your first trade?
I love that question.
I think my first stock trade might have been a biotech back in 1994, 95. But I worked in the commodity exchanges like the CME on the trading floor as a clerk, and I got a big break to be a currency trader. So then I was an interbank currency trader for 10 years. And that went automated. The robots took over the particular task that I did, which was spot futures arbitrage. Yeah. And but I knew that I wanted to get more into equities and options. And I found out about Zacks, and this model, this earnings momentum model, was just fascinating to me, and it gave me a chance to learn so much about equity investing and all these different industries. And healthcare has always been one of my favorites. So, unless you have any more background questions,
that's it. You actually got all the points taken care of.
So I started this healthcare portfolio back in 2017. And if you look at my screen, I'm going to show you a quick resource you can look for to see how I approach biotech and all of healthcare. So looking at my screen here, just in any search box on Zacks.com, just type 4 megatrends. And the results that will come up are all my articles that I title. This is an article that I continuously update, maybe once a year.
Like a living article?
Yeah, because when you call something a megatrend, it means it stays around for a while, right? And so I should be able to keep refreshing this article, hopefully 10 years from now, and the same things apply.
Yeah, I don't think bio is ever going to go away.
Exactly. And healthcare in general,
yeah,
right?
Of course, yeah.
So wait till you see the 4 megatrends.
Until we're all digitized and downloaded onto these machines that we're currently, enslaving.
So
I don't know about that.
So I see one from 2017, one from 2018, one from, that's 2017. I'll go to the most recent one I see here, which is from 2018. The megatrends haven't changed. The 4 are still in place. And
I'd imagine one of those is going to be aging populations.
Very
right?
good. Danny Mac nailed.
Well, that was one of my questions was going to be about these trends.
So important, right?
Well, let's face it, you usually don't have 18-year-olds usually, that are all too sick for the most part.
So I call it boomer power is my number one megatrend, which is the aging population. And the one thing that people miss here is, aren't the millennials, isn't this a new bigger generation or almost is going to be as big as the boomers? Well, whatever. What people miss is that people are living longer because of science, right? How many of us hopefully still have grandparents, in their 90s? And I just saw the 100-year-old woman on Twitter today.
Yeah, I just saw a tweet of a 102-year-old guy that wanted to run a track thing. And they let him get on the track and run.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
So he was shuffling, but 102 years old.
So what does it mean that we're keeping people alive longer, whether they're eating better or they had a life-saving operation or a life-saving drug? It also means that they need more care, right?
Yeah.
There's going to need more things to keep them alive, whether it's a new heart valve.
Or a hip.
Or hip, right. Speaking of heart valves, one of my favorite companies I've invested in for a long time is Edwards Life Sciences. They give you a new heart valve without open heart surgery.
Wow.
They take it, put it on a catheter up
And
through
go
your
through the
leg,
leg? Oh,
and
geez.
Wow.
new heart valve. And this is perfect for a person who's 70 plus who doctors don't want to do open
Well,
heart
yeah, you
surgery.
don't want to crack
Yeah.
the chest open on a
Right.
7-year-old.
That's why Edwards is EW is the symbol there. It's such a great company. Okay, let's keep looking at the megatrends here. We talked about aging. You can find this article anywhere. Science power. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions about all the new science, whether it's CRISPR gene,
I see you caught mine. That was gonna
CRISPR
be,
gene editing, or
CRISPR is something I've been on top on because you
you
have
know.
talked about it.
Oh
To me,
yeah,
it seems like
I own 2 CRISPR companies in my healthcare portfolio. So science power. It's just ever since we cracked the genome, so to speak, 20 years ago, the flood of researchers doing new science is just unbelievable.
it's an
Okay.
incredible industry in general. I mean, everything is literally groundbreaking.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah, it's life changing for sure. Like, the 2 biggest things that are going to happen in this century are, the advance of computing power. Where we're talking about having the ability to have, bio enhancements, right? You think of it as a chip in your head, or Elon Musk's neural lace, neural mesh, and then gene editing. And different gene therapies where we can cure disease and probably enhance people too.
Yeah, and I think it's getting people involved too as well. With all this advancement, because at first I thought when I heard about it, it sounded kind of like science fiction. So it definitely
of it
brought
does.
me into the world of healthcare, and I started even doing my own research a few years ago. So I think it's bringing the power of the science is bringing in the investors as well. Do you think that's kind of a trend as well?
Oh, absolutely. One of my favorite things to talk about biotech and healthcare is I'm gonna get people interested. I'm hopefully gonna convince everybody to investigate buying something this week, and that something is just going to be an ETF with very low risk. I'm not going to have you go out and buy a specific stock, but I'm going to have you look at buying an ETF if it's right for you, that will inspire you to learn more about the companies that are in it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And so my number 3 megatrend, if you look back at my screen here, is earnings power. Obviously, Danny's talking about this attracts investors. Yeah, because the companies have earnings power. There's one downside here. Well, let me tell you the upside first. The upside is that many drug companies have made billions and billions of dollars, right?
Yeah, of course.
And provided jobs for people and advanced science. Obviously, there's some pushback, right? What's
fair?
What's a fair price for a drug?
That's a tough one.
And I'll give you an example. When Gilead Sciences came out with their hepatitis C drug, it was groundbreaking because it cured hepatitis for people, which is profoundly important, right? But initially, it cost over $100,000. But it was going to cure you. You know what the insurance company said? They said, "We'll pay that."
Wow.
Do you know why?
Because it probably costs more to treat them than it does to just cure it.
Well,
that's my guess.
And a new liver. You know what a new liver?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
a new liver installed costs $500,000.
Yeah, see, there you go. So I can either pay $100,000 as the
Exactly.
insurance, or I can pay that $500. Obviously, you're going to try to save that $400.
That's why Gilead stock, did so well for a few years there. But then competition came in, drug prices came down, and the stock came down.
Did it end up going generic? Is that what happened?
There are not generic necessarily, but there was competition.
Gotcha.
Everybody else started figuring out the formula. How can we treat and/or cure Hep C? All right, and the last mega trend here is M&A power. Big pharma, just like Gilead has probably spent, I'm going to say, 25 to 30 billion buying other companies. Why? Because when something goes off patent, that's a patent cliff, right? And all of a sudden their revenues drop off. They need to buy new science, so they go out and buy companies. I had 2 companies bought in 2018. Celgene bought Juno Therapeutics, which was an immuno-oncology stock. So we talked about gene therapy, but immuno-oncology is fascinating too, because that's the science where to kill cancer,
Use the immune system.
we're going to use your immune system to kill the cancer that's in your body and teach your white blood cells to ramp up and recognize it. Because the nefarious thing about cancer is it can hide from our white blood cells. So that's what it's busy doing.
So it's basically this drug's going to highlight them somehow.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Interesting.
It's training your body basically to attack something that it's not already like known to do.
Well, because that's why but if you think about it, by definition, that's why cancer is so nefarious, because it's been hiding. It's
dormant, basically.
Well, yeah, there's these inhibitors and protein pathways where it can just sneak around and do its dirty deeds, and your white blood cells don't even notice them.
Cheap.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm an old ACDC fan.
So that's immuno-oncology. Juno Therapeutics, we made 100% on Juno because Celgene came in and bought them.
Yeah.
So that's M&A power. Now, there is a caveat there, too, that the M&A is slowly, I wouldn't say subsiding, but it goes in cycles, right? So you can't just buy a small drug company and think, oh, the big guys are going to buy them. Because often what happens, the good thing here is a partnership, what I call the big brother. A Gilead or a Celgene or a Pfizer or a Merck will come along and recognize a small, $200 million company with exciting science, good scientists, some promise in the research area that they're in. Maybe they're just entering phase 1, and they'll say, you know what, we like what you're doing. We'd like to partner with you. We're going to give you $10 million or $100 million to do your research. And then, we'll take a little cut of whatever happens.
Right.
Maybe not even. They're not even thinking about profits. They're thinking about
potential sales down the line.
Well, potential science results. Like you've proved the concept through a phase 1, and now we'd like to take over the program or invest more in it once you've proven it. And so they create milestones. If you get this far in a phase 1 trial, we'll give you another, say, $10 million. So those milestones are very important to the small biotech company. And when we talk about your the little pick that you guys gave me, was a catalyst? Well, we need to find out, do they have a big brother? Because that's one of my first questions. Who is partnering? Who's already recognized the science? Because the three of us, we are not molecular biologists the last time I checked. So
very far from it.
So we need the big pharma company with scientists to give a nod and say, this little company knows what they're doing. We want to back them. We don't know if it's going to be a blockbuster. We don't even know if they're going to get through the FDA gauntlet. That's what I call, to get past the FDA.
It's got to be tough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stages, isn't there?
Yes. Well, there's 3 major research phases, but all along the way, anything can go right or wrong.
Wrong, yeah. And more likely probably wrong than right.
Yeah. So that's my big picture on, the megatrends. And again, just go to Zacks.com, search for megatrends, and you'll find that article. And
I mean, this is all very interesting only because of the fact that medicine is just constantly changing on a heartbeat. I mean, something can literally just derail somebody's research because you happen to find a protein that doesn't fit in or something else. I mean, it's just so fast. I come from a family of medical doctors, and even my father, he's now retired, but who had been doing it for so long, even he said that the medicine type of stuff that's happening now was basically, like Danny had said, science fiction back when he was just in medical school. The stuff that they're doing now, walking around with iPads. I mean, he joked, he's like, it's like walking into Star Trek now when you go to the hospital. You've got all these crazy tools that didn't exist, 20 years ago.
And what's amazing? I mentioned Edwards Life Sciences, the company that creates the heart valves. You know that guy, Edwards, he started out, he was a hydraulic pump engineer.
Get out.
Yes.
So
he just figured this out.
But he had a heart problem when he was a kid, so he was always fascinated. He knew that the heart was a pump.
Yeah, it's a pump.
That worked like all the pumps that he built for machines. And he went to some doctors and he said, I really want to see if we can build an artificial heart. And he luckily met the right guy that told him, hey, why don't we set our sights a little bit lower first? Why don't we just see if we can replicate a valve?
Right.
And that's what they did.
That's amazing.
And it's a $50 billion company that's saved thousands and thousands of lives.
God, that's really amazing that he was a pump guy. I mean, I actually have some experience in pumps, and I can tell you, it's a pump.
Switching careers, eh?
So I just want to show my Zacks Healthcare Innovators portfolio here. You see a lot of green. These are, many of my top winners.
Oh, look at him showing off.
Well, believe me, there are some dark red ones too. And usually those are the small biotechs.
Well, kind of going off of showing some of these good winners and stuff, what pushes these companies to, I guess, reach that next leg? We talked about FDA approvals. There are generic companies that come out that could hurt them. What is kind of the pushing or momentum factor that helps these companies kind of keep going?
So if it's a new drug that treats something in a new way or that nobody else has treated, obviously the market wants that, right? Doctors may want it, and if sales can be envisioned, right? And so that's really the job of the research analyst is what's the market if they get approved,
Right.
when something's in phase 1, there's just a lot of speculation. It's like maybe they're doing a test. It's only on a dozen patients. It's very, very
Small.
restricted, very controlled. And the FDA wants to see, let's not. We don't want to see how many people you can kill. You can test, but it's got to be under these circumstances. They get through that, then they expand it. Maybe they expand it to 50 people, and then in phase 3, it's 300 people or something. But if the analyst can say, look, this seems to have some progress. The data from the trial says that there was, statistically significant, benefits for a patient. It reduced some pain. It
Reduce inflammation.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. If something is statistically significant, and there were no adverse effects. Right.
You always get those nice lists at the bottom of those commercials.
Yeah,
it always makes you wonder.
In a trial of 20 people, you can't have, it worked great for 12 people and 5 died. No, that doesn't cut it, right?
Yeah, that would be a fail.
So that's the safety and efficacy, right? Efficacy doesn't work, but safety is the FDA's job.
And this might be a sidebar on basically what we're talking about, but hasn't there been a push from the public to try to loosen some of these testing rules so the public, people that are terminal, whatnot, can get access to some of these drugs that could potentially be life-saving?
Right. I mean, imagine, many of us may know a family that has a child with what could be a terminal illness or something that's, very difficult. And those families are like, sign us up. We will be in that trial. We will take the risk. We will take all the risk because they want to cure. Whether it's something like muscular dystrophy or something very life-threatening like
ALS or something.
Cystic
that's
fibrosis.
a big one. No, there's another big one.
Big news this week in Vertex, a company I've owned many times. Vertex is the leader in treating cystic fibrosis, which, as you may know, many young adults don't live into their 30s if they have cystic fibrosis because it just wears them down. And Vertex already had a treatment, but they just got a approval to submit to the FDA their new therapy for CF. So that's been pretty exciting. That's why that stock is up this week. That symbol is VRTX. But to more fully answer Danny's question, so we're trying to project what could the sales be, and the research analysts will say even if when a company's in like phase 2 and nothing's for sure, they'll project out 10 years. And they'll say, we see,
a rise in this cancer.
Well, we see peak sales at $1 billion for this drug in 10 years.
So are
now
these...
now that forecast is
that's kind of a terrifying forecast in a way because you're assuming more people are going to get sick, right?
Well, no, it's based on how many people in the population have it now. And what tends, how many people are born with it?
Right, and then statistically, okay.
But it's still kind of pie in the sky to say we estimate peak sales at $1 billion 10 years from now, which sounds great. And maybe the company that trades for $100 million, maybe it should trade for $1 billion in market cap because it could have peak sales in 10 years of $1 billion. But that's still a lot of speculation. And it's what you have to look at it is every time. This is a big thing I want to warn people about is analysts will then put price targets on the small biotech. Small biotech trading $10 has a price target of 20. Oh, wow, the analyst says it's going to double. I could double my money. Well, there's a probability matrix there too. A lot of things have to go right.
Right.
It's like in the best case, if just about everything goes right,
then it will.
Then this company could double in value in 2 or 3 years. But it's still you have to do some probability.
So
there.
on that same type of line, so what happens to a company, say like Bayer, that currently is having some issues? Company that's been proven, been around for a while, probably would have been considered a blue chip up until recently. What happens then?
I haven't looked at Bayer in a while. In my healthcare portfolio, I pick about 20 stocks. So I like to have a mix of biotech, medical instruments like Edwards, and then the big pharma. But I can't buy all the big pharma. I can't buy Pfizer and Bayer and Merck.
Pfizer is one that's never going to lose money, I don't think.
Well, but the stock hasn't done much. So I picked Merck a couple of years ago, and it worked out great for us. We made 50% on it because I bought it after the stock got beaten down. But Merck has one of the best cancer-fighting drugs, Keytruda. So, that's why they continue to do
I'm
well.
trying to look up Bayer now because this might be actually a buying opportunity.
Oh, you said
potentially.
Bayer. I was thinking Bristol Myers.
No. Bayer
yeah.
is in the oxycodone producer.
Yeah, I don't know how they're getting hit on the opioid fines.
Because I mean, that's never going to disappear. It's not like they're going to stop producing these pills. They're just going to become more regulated, would be my guess.
Right.
So I mean, they're not going to go away.
So I promised that I would give. We talked about the megatrends, and we talked about the FDA gauntlet.
I'd like to ask a quick question before we move on. I guess with all these, it sounds like these companies go through a lot of phases and stages. So what kind of investments are these for people? Are these long-term investments? Are there something that are kind of medium hold where you're kind of getting in and out during these phases? Because it sounds like a drug could go really well, and then, like Eric mentioned earlier, someone could make a generic and it could hurt the stock. So what kind of style of investing is it for healthcare?
Now, as far as the generics, there's always a time window where
when it's going to go generic.
Where you have exclusive rights, and nobody can create a biosimilar. So that's pretty well known because the FDA and some smart people in the government who are being advised by smart people in healthcare know that you can't. There's no incentive for a company to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on research
and then
to develop something that helps people and then not let them sell it or have a biosimilar. It would just,
or at least control it for a period of time.
It would basically stop scientific investment in
innovation.
innovation.
Why would you bother researching it if you're not going to get paid?
So there are risks for the companies, but and did I answer your question, Danny, or was there something more there?
No, I was just kind of curious on if it was a long-term investment because it goes through all these different stages and stuff.
Well, I definitely look at it as long-term. My healthcare innovators portfolio is among 3 other innovator portfolios here, which are supposed to be long-term. We're not trading quickly in and out of stocks on a weekly or monthly basis. Okay. When I buy something, I pick it because I think I can own it for 2, 3, 5 years. Okay. And many companies I have owned for 2 years.
And to pitch your innovator service real quick, for those that are watching, please be sure to check out Zacks.com/promo because for the next 30 days, you're invited to follow market insights, buy, sells, and all of our recommendation portfolios in real time. It only costs $1. You can even look inside services that are also exclusive that have been closed to new investors. Visit Zacks.com/promo for those details.
Nice.
Okay. So I promised that I would give away for investors who've never really delved into biotech to begin looking at it. And a safe way to do that is with an ETF. So I'm going to show you 3 or 4 primary ETFs that you can look at. IBB, which you see here on my screen, is the NASDAQ Biotechnology ETF. This is the primary biotech ETF. And it's market cap weighted, which means the big companies like Amgen, Biogen. Oh, we should talk about Biogen. Big news this week.
Man, there seems like there's a lot of stuff coming.
A ton of news this week. Oh boy, my head's been spinning. My head has been spinning because Biogen may have something to submit to the FDA to treat Alzheimer's.
Get out.
Yeah, how huge is that, right?
That is huge.
So in IBB, it's market cap weighted to the big guys. But if you wanted more exposure to the little guys, like a Catalyst, XBI is the equal weight version, meaning if it holds 20 companies, each are only going to be about 5% of the portfolio, and if it holds 25 companies, they're going to be 4%. So what that does is it gives you more leverage to the small companies. So XBI is a very safe way if you want to be a long-term biotech investor. You can trade the swings. I mean, last year when the market melted down in December, we bought XBI at like $60 and rode it up to $80 for a quick swing trade.
Nice.
Just because I believed in it so much, and I left some money on the table. But the point is because I believe in biotech as a long-term investor, I'm going to buy the dips even on these ETFs, and that way I do not have company-specific risk.
Ah.
That's the idea behind an ETF. The other
See, I guess I was feeling I had put all my eggs in one basket when it came to the company I believed in.
Well,
because like I knew there's ETFs obviously, but
Yeah,
I just kind of
yeah.
thought like the company
Well-
that really you could research and get into and really believe in would be the one that you'd want to put your money into. So I guess
here's the ARC-G, which focuses on genomics. ARC Investments is a new ETF family that really focuses on innovation. And that's another one to look at where it's going to own the companies that are very tethered to anything involving genomic sequencing and maybe some gene therapy. So let's look at your catalyst here real quick. I don't know that much about the company. I found one research report. The things I'm going to look at with a small biotech, well, let's see what the market cap here is. I'll pull it up on Zacks.com.
yeah, there's a pretty large profile there.
Yeah, and with these smaller,
CPRX, right?
Mhm.
and with them being smaller biotech, is there more risk with these types of companies versus the kind of larger companies that can kind of do the M&A and buy in and out of these other
Yeah.
companies for the science?
There's
or-
definitely a lot of risk. Look at this. I'm looking at the market cap on my screen here for CPRX, Catalyst Pharma. The market cap is $565 million. And the first thing I want to know is, do they have any sales? Why is it worth $500,000? Do they have some money coming in? Now, I don't expect them to be profitable. Most young biotechs are not going to be profitable.
Right.
But what kind of revenues do they have, and what is the source of the revenues? Is it just being paid milestones by a big brother pharma company? So
Looks like they've got medicine and Tourette syndrome and epilepsy.
yeah, neuromuscular stuff. Which is kind of cool, a cool area, and often what you'll find with a small biotech is they're going for a very small population that has a very specific disease, and there might be only a few thousand in the population, and the FDA classifies those as orphan treatments. So they'll give them.
Because they're so specific.
Yeah,
it's outside of the rest of the world.
And they want to encourage the small company. Like if the big company's not going to bother with with a disease that affects a small population, the small company will, and the FDA wants to encourage those companies. So so sometimes they'll give them an orphan designation or a fast track designation. Like, hey, we think what you're doing is safe. We think it could have some efficacy. Proceed now to phase 2, phase 3.
Well, not to mention how many drugs that they find that they develop for one thing has a use for another completely different use.
Sure.
And then,
One of my favorite companies right now is GW Pharmaceuticals, which has the first FDA-approved cannabis-derived medicine.
Yeah.
So
Dave was on here talking about them.
okay, yeah. So and this is no fly-by-night company. The two doctors who started GW Pharma in the UK in 1998. So they've been at this for over 20 years. This has been their singular focus, is that we think that cannabis, it opens up so many potential medicines. And they got an MS medicine approved in the UK in 2010. And last year, the FDA approved an epilepsy treatment here in the U.S. And the sales are really ramping up. They did $68 million in sales last quarter. It's expected to be at peak sales $1.5 billion. Roughly.
Wow.
Jeez.
So that's why.
A lot of growth.
So, and to me, because of their focus on cannabis and what's yet undiscovered, right? There's 100 different cannabinoid derivatives.
Yeah.
That they're going to keep finding new treatments for new diseases. So, and maybe Epidiolex, which is their medicine for epilepsy, will found to be, they can expand the label for other issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's been shown time and time again how cannabis is useful for people with epilepsy. So it's cool that somebody who's actually focusing.
So let's look at Catalyst sales. Now, Catalyst actually has some impressive sales here. It looks like one of their drugs must have just launched, because what I'm seeing here is that they went from virtually no sales. They're going to do $112 million in sales this year.
Yeah, that's
So-
a big year-over-year growth too.
Well, only because the medicine just launched, right?
Okay, so
The product just launched and became marketable, and physicians are obviously prescribing it. So that's what's going on here. And so really what you want to look at is what are the analysts' estimates? And thankfully we have 5 analysts contributing here. They're looking at over 50% growth. So I'm not sure of the drug that's been approved here. I will have to take a closer look. But on the surface, this is a company I want to learn more about. And I just printed this research report here. I didn't research it before because I didn't want to get into a small cap biotech, but this is now on my radar, which means I'm not running out to buy it, but I'm going to do more research. And what's the upside? Well, I only see a few banks covering it. Let's say there's 5.
Mike Peters there actually says something just to catch it because what we're talking about. He says CPRX November 28th, 2018, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration today approved Firdapse.
They always have some hard names.
God, amifedrin tablets for the treatment of Lambert-Eaton myasthenic syndrome, so LEMS, in adults. So he's trying to help you out here.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. So, I see it here at LEMS. I don't even know what that is, but they're obviously there was a need.
Yeah, obviously.
And their physicians are prescribing this to their patients. What was I going to say? Price target here. From one bank, their price target is $8 on this stock. Now, usually an investment bank or a research analyst will do what's called a discounted cash flow spreadsheet, where they say, well, this is what we project the sales to be and potential profits, out 5-10 years, and then they work backwards based on interest rates and other things and come up with, this is the valuation we give it over the next 12 months. So in this case, this is fantastic sales growth. And the company really, if they do 170 million next year, they are trading at under 4 times sales, which is very good for a small biotech. I would bet that there might be some analysts with higher price targets than this one I see of $8. But again,
that'd be a really good jump even from where it's at currently today.
But again, we don't. I don't know, since I'm not familiar with LEMS, so.
Got to do some research.
Yeah, you have to find out how many patients in the population
have it
and would be eligible for this treatment. So those are some of the things. What's in technology, we talk about the total addressable market. Well, it's the same kind of thing in biotech is. So I know you guys.
Kind of rounding out.
I kind of ran overtime here.
Oh no, that's all right though. Yeah, we don't ever cut off a good show when we're getting good info.
Right, and I'd kind of rounding it out here with all this information and kind of like how we just said, you got to really do your research here with healthcare. Is there anything that you would say is a good rule of thumb when looking at specific stocks, or is there any risks that kind of give you a big red flag of saying, okay, we should probably stay away from that one and look into other
again
companies?
When I'm looking at small biotech, I'm very cautious, and you see some of the things I looked at. Mm-hmm. I want to know, do they have a big brother, a big pharma company that said, we like the research you guys are doing, we want to partner with you, we want to help you, we want to give you money so you can further that research.
Okay.
That's a big plus when you know that. Now, it is very likely that Catalyst did or does have a big pharma company looking over them and helping them out and paying them milestones that they got this far. But I just don't know off the top of my head. So that's one thing.
This is off the cuff too, pretty much. So we don't expect you to go into all the details and know everything right now.
Here's one more ETF, SBio, which looks at medical breakthroughs. So I suggest people look at these small ETFs and buy an SBio or an XBI, and then you look at the holdings. So I'm just going to do that right now. This is so simple to do. I'm going to go SBio holdings.
There we go. And it just pops right up.
Yeah, I got it on finance. ETF.com is good. Oh, there was a Zacks one right there. I missed it. Then you see the companies that are in here, and then you can say, you know what? If I buy SBio, then I own, a piece of these companies.
ETFs are great for that, Disney told us. I mean, if you're really
Yeah.
into an industry.
Okay. And then you look at the companies. So here's what's in SBio: Acadia, United Therapeutics. What else do I know in here? I own Global Blood Therapeutics. They are working on sickle cell disease.
Really?
Global Blood. And so then you learn about these companies, and then you decide, okay, do I want to actually buy a few shares in one of the individual companies once you learn more about them? All right, let me mention the Alzheimer's news this week.
Yeah.
Biogen. I used to own Biogen. They were the only company that was considered anywhere close to coming up with anything for Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's, we think we know that it's because of these, protein plaques that build up in the brain that are causing the problems. But the science still isn't sure. And so Pfizer abandoned their Alzheimer's program just because
they didn't
it
conclusion.
It was going nowhere.
Right.
This year, Biogen announced, I think it might have been phase 2, maybe phase 3 results that were inconclusive for their Alzheimer's drug. So, yeah, it's like, that's it. But Biogen can't cure Alzheimer's. The stock went down significantly.
So make sure if you're looking for an ETF with that you might wanna...
but in an ETF you're not going to get hurt that bad, and Biogen would be a big player, would be a big part of. But this week they said, hold the phone. They said, we've looked at the data again, and we think it could work in this case because here's what happened is they extended, they kept certain trials going. And past 78 weeks, they found that for some patients, there was statistically significant results or benefits from the drug. Aducanumab is the name of it. And so now,
try saying that 4 times fast.
Yeah, now they're going to resubmit it to the FDA and say, wait, over a long time period, there were benefits for patients.
Huh.
And the stock shot up. It was up like over 30%.
Well, it's pretty huge news if they actually find out that there was some sort of benefit.
And speaking of small ones, I owned a little company called Axsome, AXSM, because it was the only other company that was doing anything with Alzheimer's that might work. Bought it at $250, and it soared one week on good news to $750.
Nice.
Yeah. So we sold it. We banked over 150% gains.
Yeah, there's a lot of big movers.
Then the stock went to 20.
Oh, shoot. That's all right, though. You can't feel bad about taking gains.
No.
You can't feel bad about taking gains.
But it's we still don't know if they have anything conclusive for Alzheimer's. So, it's just this is why you start small, you buy an ETF, you start to learn about the companies,
Yeah, kind of save yourself from that risk of those big jumping up and down and all around.
Yeah, because as I told Eric before, is I've lost many fingers buying small biotechs. You buy them at $10 and they go to $5, and you're like, well, do I put more money in or do I just take my 50% loss and go home?
Right. Okay, Danny, let's take it to the battleground real quick. And while that's going on, for one guest here who's got a question, he's actually been involved here quite a bit, and he has a bunch of stocks that he wants to get into. But Kevin, while we're going through our quick bit, if you could take a look at FOMX for him.
FOMX.
All right, Danny, roll it. All right, guys. So in the battleground, last week I took a chance and I picked up Take-Two Interactive because of Red Dead Redemption.
You bought a stock without me here.
Did. They do actually go and report on the 7th, but the big news for them is they're actually releasing Red Dead Redemption 2 for PC next week.
Which I'm actually going to go buy because I didn't know it was coming out on PC, so I'm going to be one of their... sales.
It's going to be pretty huge, I think. Oh, we're back.
Hello.
Yeehaw.
Sorry about that.
But yeah, it's already up a little bit for me from when I picked it up. I don't think it's going to be a huge winner. It looks like it's only up less than a full percentage, but still, that's up, and its momentum is now shot up to an A. So I'm imagining that the analysts out there have got the same type of feeling I do that Red Dead Redemption PC is going to be a huge win for the company. In my portfolio, I am still getting my ass beat by Disney. If it wasn't for Disney, I would probably be in much better shape, but I am a believer I know that when Disney Plus launches, there's no way that stock isn't going to fly up. So I think that buying it where I did wasn't that bad.
We'll definitely see. I think Disney's definitely more of a long-term player. They just have so much going on and so many different branches that, I mean, it's just one of those companies that, in my mind, I see it just constantly growing.
Pre-sales for the new Star Wars movie.
It's why you want to buy the dips in good companies like
Yep.
that. So Danny recognizes the quality of Disney, and obviously you do too.
Yeah.
That's why when the stock market goes down like it did in December last year, that's when you're buying Disney at $100.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I did. He bought it, and then it took a little bit of a dip. I decided to jump in it as well. Kind of took his idea, but hey, it works out for both of us. But yeah, it is down a little bit, but like we said, it's much more of a long-term.
It's the only thing that's whooping my rear end right now. But that's all I got right now from my end of the battleground. I'm not going to add anything. I am still looking at CRISPR, but now after this conversation, I'm probably going to potentially think about going into an ETF that holds up.
Yes. Look at the ARC Genomic Fund then. They own, I believe, CRISPR Therapeutics and Editas, both of which I own for the Healthcare Innovators portfolio. I'll tell you something good about Editas. Again, no sales because this science is far away. The revenue from gene editing, that's years down the road.
But God, is it so exciting?
Editas, I consider it has a leg up on the competition because it has so many patents. When it partnered with the Broad Institute and Harvard and made sure to go out and get patents on all the stuff they're doing. So if things begin to have some promise, then they'll have some traction there.
Yeah, they own the information, which is huge. All right, Danny, what you got?
Well, I don't really have anything other than looking at my portfolio in the red a little bit currently still, which is okay. I mean, we've actually made a little bit of some ground here, so it's not all bad news. But yeah, we have a very similar story with Disney. We're still kind of holding on to Square, which has taken a bit of a hit and drop last month, but we're up both on AT&T and our ETF, which is our dividend aristocrat. So we're playing it safe with that one, and I kind of like those type of plays, considering this is a longer-term portfolio. So, but I did have another question for a stock on Kevin, but I think I would rather have our viewers' stock.
Yeah, well,
I
I got enough time here to answer your one question about is it Fomex?
Yep.
So I just took a glance. Sub $200 million company, no sales really. It looks like they could have $15 million in revenue next year, which might be a milestone payment from a larger pharma company, paying them to get some research done.
Which is a big thing that you said to watch out for.
So Fomex specializes in foam-based formulations for acne and other skin conditions. Obviously a promising area. I just actually lost some money on Dermira, which was going to have the big player in dermatitis is Regeneron, giant biotech company who kind of owns the market in treating, eczema, dermatitis, atopic dermatitis, that kind of thing. So I bought the small company, thinking I'd have an edge, but bought it at, I don't know, $12 and it went down to $8, and it's just like, that's the thing with buying these small companies. You really got to do your homework. And so, Fomex at, at $2 or $3, okay. Are you willing to, do you have a part of your portfolio where you say, I'm willing, this is my high risk capital kind of thing. You have to look at it like that.
Here's where I'm willing to gamble.
Yeah. And you maybe you buy 10 shares, maybe you buy 100 shares, and maybe you buy more, but you keep doing your homework. And then don't think that this is something that's going to make you get rich quick. Because once in a while you hear about somebody who got the four-bagger on a little biotech, but you don't know how many they lost on too. Yeah. So, you play in this minefield and thinking you're going to get rich quick, you're going to lose some fingers.
You get burned.
All right, guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Kevin. Be sure, guys, to check out Kevin's, Healthcare Innovators portfolio along with, Zacks Ultimate if you want to get into that, so you can check out everything else that goes along with it. And because we have a deal going on for the month, you can get it at Zacks.com/promo. All the details are there for you. Again, Kevin, thank you for being here. Everybody here who participated, there are a couple extra questions here. We'll see if Kevin will answer them for us off camera, and maybe we'll write it up for you in the comments. Danny, you got anything else?
No, just get involved with the show. I liked the participation today. Just give us some more comments in the YouTube. Hit us with the like, all that good stuff on social media. So we appreciate you sticking with us.
So don't forget, guys, we also have Ben Rains, who's up at this exact same time at 11 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He was out this week on Tuesday, but he will be back tomorrow. And with that, we will see you guys next Wednesday.
Later.